In this video, we're going to model the propeller, and in off camera, all I did is I extended an edge going across here and an edge going across here to make that a quad, and then I added an edge going around the sides. So if you soften this, you can see it sharpens it up just quite nicely. So we will let that go. I'm going to bring up my template, and I'll go to my top view, and I'll go ahead and set this to X-ray, and I'm going to move to where the propeller is. Okay, so here's the propeller. Now I noticed that I'm not right on my center line, so I'm going to make that active, and I'll pull this over so that the propeller is on the center line. And then I'll reference that. All right, now I'm going to use my EP curve tool, and I want to make sure that I get enough EP points in around my around this area so that I can get a good extrusion off the propeller. So I don't have a grid line, but I'm going to go get as close to the get as close to the center line as I possibly can, and then I'm going to add a pretty good number of points at this particular juncture. And I'll go back here, and I'm just going to straight out make this pin for the propeller like so, and I'm going to hit return. Now when I do that, of course, my pivot point goes to the origin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press D and C, and then I'm going to middle mouse drag all the way down to the tip. Try that one more time. D and C, and middle mouse drag all the way down to the tip of the propeller. I want that to be my center of extrusion, or my center of revolution, or revolving, I should say. So I'll go to Surfaces, Revolve, and I'll have the same options. I'm going to revolve on Z, cubic, linear, cubic, no tolerance, curve range complete. I want to do polygons, quads, general, per span number of isoparams, and 1 and 1. And we'll click apply, and there we go. Now, before I go to do too much more, I'm going to go ahead and delete half of my polygons for this, because I don't need them, number one. And select that and hit F with my cursor over top here. I'll hide this. And I can go ahead and, oops, I missed a couple of polygons. Happens. Go there and there. Now, one thing you may note, if I turn off X-ray, I'll see, look at that, this is actually, the surface is reversed. So I'm going to select it, and I'll go to Mesh Display. They've taken off the normal menu. They made it part of the Mesh Display, and by reversing normals, we'll just have that squared away. And that'll make it right for us. So I'm going to use my multi-cut tool, hold down the Control key, and make my sharp edges for my propeller, like so. Okay, so see how that's sharpening up nicely. I can go down here. Now I don't have to worry about the pin being perfectly sharp. Sometimes that's what I don't like, is sometimes if you miss, it does that and cuts an edge the wrong way. So I want to make sure there. So all right, so that sharpens it up. If you really want to make it super sharp, first thing you want to do, well, first off, let's go to vertex, and let's drag select here. Make sure that we only have one vertex there. Do the same thing for the front. I forgot to do that. It's always a good idea when you revolve, because sometimes the end of your curve might not be right on the center line, but in this case it was. So I'll select that there, hold down my Command key, and change my selection to faces, and then I'm going to extrude. I'm going to hold down my Control key, and change my offset, okay, to make it 0.01 so that it extends inward like so. I'm going to delete these two polygons that result from that. Go back to vertex, and then I'm going to select all of these internal vertices right that should be right on the edge, right on that center line, and I'm going to do absolute transform, and we'll set that to 0. That's a way of snapping your vertices to the center line. In fact, we should probably do that for all of the vertices on the center line here. And that's how we'll snap them together. There we go. All right, let's bring back the template, and we'll go to the top view. All right, so now I want to look at this, and I want to make sure that I've got enough. I need one more line of edges. I like to have 8 polygons going on whenever I'm extruding, or in this case, I'm going to have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I also want these 4 as well. All right, so what that looks like is this right here is what I want. All right, and then I'm going to extrude that like so. Click on the toggle and just drag these straight out that way. Okay, and then I'm going to find my poly extrude face node, and I'm going to increase my divisions quite a bit. I'll go ahead and do it to 16. Okay, and then I'm going to round this off. The way I'm going to round it off is kind of a little bit different. First, I want to make it, I want to flatten this a little bit. So I will double click here, and then double click, shift double click. Basically, I'm shift double clicking, and then hold down the shift key and double click, and that selects that line. Shift click there, shift double click here. And I'm also, I think I'll expand my selection. I'll have to trim it down, but that's okay. And I'm going to shrink this down. I'll shrink my selection one more time. Oops. There we go. Add these 2 back in and shrink it down a little more. Basically, I just want it. This is going to appear to be made out of wood, so it doesn't really have to be 100% perfect according to Hoyle. It'll be rounded and be quite nice and smooth. So, all right. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these points here, and I want to make them. I'm going to use the target weld tool, and I want to round this off. Okay, all of these polygons. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. Now the difference is that with this target weld tool, I've got my merge to target set, not center. Okay, we'll just do that down these 3 sides here. Okay, got that there. Now, what that does is now when I smooth preview it, you can see how nice and rounded that is. I'm going to select these vertices, and I'm going to move them back to add to that rounding. Okay, so now they're really rounded. Okay, so I'm going to go to my front view, and what we can see is that this, basically, this, our propeller, as it twists, it also gets a little bit more, it gets a little wider. I'm going to kind of not go by this, this top view, or I will if I can, but for the most part, I'm going to leave it, leave what we've got here. And I'm going to go ahead and make a lattice. Okay, I'm going to deform and choose lattice. That'll give me a 2x2x2 lattice, which is good. I'll grab this and I will rotate it. Okay, that's good. I will go to object mode, delete history, and I'll go back to vertex. I'll increase my selection. I'll make another lattice. And then this one, I'm going to give myself some more segments. I'll do that along the S division. And I will go to lattice points. And I will start to scale these up. Make it look a lot more propellerish. Go to my top view. I can pull these down a little bit. Like so. Three, and now we've got pretty much of a propeller that I think would work pretty well. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my target weld tool and shore up this edge here. All right, hit 3, and that's looking sharper. Not perfectly sharp, but that's fine. I could go in and do another one like so, and that would make it even sharper. Okay, so in this lesson, what we did, well, actually what I'll do is I will select and delete history before I continue on. Okay, so what we did in this lesson is we created our propeller, and we used a lattice. Actually, I can probably do a little bit more modeling on that to kind of bring it a little bit more into line with what we have, although this is actually up a little bit more than it should be. There, that looks pretty good. And again, with the preview, we could add some more lattice. Maybe I'll do that off camera just to make it a little bit more, conform a little bit better to our drawing. In this lesson, we modeled our propeller. And in the next lesson, we're going to move on to model the wing.